Now, Douglas, I've always made the argument that if you don't like the West and its values, then don't emigrate there. If you want to see Sharia law, then there are plenty of Muslim majority countries you could live in. But I want to play you the response to that argument from a character called Shakil Afsar, who did very well, I've got to say, at the last general election in the UK, in the Hall Green constituency in Birmingham. He got the second largest vote, running as an independent. Let's have a listen.
The city of Birmingham will not tolerate the disrespect of our Prophet, peace be upon him, and there will be outcomes from your actions. You will have repercussions for your actions. We have been trained from birth that we must defend the honor of our Prophet, and we will lay our life on the line.
Okay, you know, the other argument is, okay, so if you don't like it here, go to your own country.
But why would we do that when our forefathers were instrumental in rebuilding this country after World War II? It was our grandfathers who worked in the factories 20 hours. It was our grandfathers who came here and ran the infrastructure. It was our grandfathers who brought you the lovely curry, which is your national dish. So how can you tell us to go? We're not going nowhere. We are here to stay. Like I say, we're not here to take part. We're here to take over.
Douglas, what's your response to that? The argument is their forefathers helped rebuild the UK and they're entitled to take over.
Well, he can scram as far as I'm concerned. My forefathers did a lot more for a lot longer than his. And if he wants to talk about the importance of Pakistani labour in the post-war period, very happy that other British people go head to head and point out what our forebears did for a lot longer and a lot better. To actually build Britain. Britain isn't built on a couple of generations of immigration. It's built on centuries, in fact, millennia of men and women who did extraordinary things. And to watch that being trampled on by this person, I just would play it around any other way. If a white British were to go to Pakistan and say, I'm, very sorry, but actually my forebears built this country, not you, and I'll do whatever I want, and we'll have a kind of white takeover of Pakistan or anything like that, it would be absolutely condemned by everyone. It wouldn't be tolerated at all. I'm just fed up of hearing demagogues like that. I'm sorry, the country doesn't belong to him and people like him. And I hope he doesn't push the British people as much as he's trying to, because he might not like what he gets back.
Well, I've got to say, Douglas, I'm as worried about the self-loathing generations we are breeding in the West as much as those coming from faraway lands who want to change the West. Watch what these young men say when asked whether they would fight for their country.
Let me tell you this, I would fight against the UK.
I would probably say no.
I don't think I would.
Why would you fight against the UK?
Because I would like the world to be liberated from Western imperialism. I would fight against this country in a war.
Liberated from Western imperialism. Douglas, how do we get here?
First of all, that soy boy you just saw, I'm not sure he'd be much use in any army. I can't see him storming any beaches or climbing any ramparts. So it's purely hypothetical for him. It's just a statement of the basically he's saying that because he's been taught to say it. And he doesn't have a mind of his own. He's just repeating a sort of mantra he's been taught in some second-rate university or college or something like that about colonialism and everything else and Western imperialism. It's all just such dated stuff by now. And of course, those of us who watch people like that with the suitable amount of contempt that they invite always have to resist the temptation, don't we, to just wish that perhaps they would find themselves in a position where they meet the people who they think are their great allies and are shown a different type of custom and a different type of welcome. If that guy ever got his way, which he's not going to, but actually sort of lived in some kind of post-Western world, well, good luck to him, because he'd find out awfully fast that the Chinese Communist Party don't particularly care for people like him. The Sharia law lovers definitely don't like him. You just sort of, in a way, you hope that they'll get a little taster of it someday, and it'll be the firm smack of reality, maybe the first smack they've got, but certainly not the first one they've deserved.
It reminds me of those pro-Palestinian supporters who thought they were going to march into Palestine through Egypt, and the locals gave them the sort of reception they weren't expecting. They were, I think, expecting the red carpet treatment, and no, they got a very North African welcome, and they were shocked. They couldn't believe the locals would behave like that. Before you go, it's been a big week for the Trump administration. The bombing of Iran's nuclear sites is fresh calls for Donald Trump's impeachment from the Democrats, from the likes of AOC. And we've also just had Donald Trump overnight at The Hague securing increased defence spending from NATO partners. Do you expect to see the peace deal between Israel and Iran enduring for any sort of time?
We'll see. The Iranian revolutionary government is not in a very strong position at the moment. The Ayatollah Khamenei is about the last person left at the head of it, and of the military and of the terrorist infrastructure that he and his predecessor have built up for 4.5 decades now. He's not in a strong position. The skies above Iran are completely dominated by the Israeli Air Force, and indeed by the American Air Force in the last 10 days or so. They don't have control of their own skies, the Iranian revolutionary government. The Israeli and American Air Force can do whatever they want, and the mullahs basically can't do anything much in response. If the Iranian revolutionary government were to break this ceasefire, Israel would be completely within its rights to retaliate immediately. I think there is a slightly difficult corner for the Israelis, which is whether or not they actually feel that they've finished the job, not just on the nuclear sites, but on the ballistic missiles and others that the Iranian revolutionary government has been firing at the people of Israel for the last couple of weeks and has done so many times in the past. If the Israelis feel that the job isn't done, they will need some kind of reassurance that it'll be that basically the rocket fire will stop and much more. It's a difficult corner, that, and I can understand the tensions on all sides. But President Trump did an extraordinary and historic thing, as indeed did Prime Minister Netanyahu in the last couple of weeks since we spoke. The whole world has said for years that Iran cannot get a nuclear bomb. And most of the world sat by or negotiated away as the mullahs got closer and closer to getting the world's most dangerous weaponry. The Israelis acted, and then the Americans backed them up and finished most of that job, if not all of it. And as I've said for many years, inevitably there's criticism, but they have done something which, if it's shown to have been complete, if it has actually destroyed the nuclear terrorist infrastructure of the mullahs, is absolutely historic. The idiots claiming that Trump should be impeached should just come out and say that they have no problem with the idea of a nuclear Iran and a nuclearized Middle East. And if they think that, they're even bigger fools than you and I took them for.
Douglas Murray, thank you so much for your time tonight.
It's a great pleasure as always.